Welcome to Leading Ideas. I'm Skip Everitt, and I'm your commentator and your host of this program. It's also being sponsored by New Horizons Learning Center of North Florida and being broadcasted from their site in Gainesville, Florida. We're also part of the Professional Podcast Network, and as of very recently available on YouTube. And if you'll go into that and access us as Professional Pod Net, you will find all of the podcasts that have been done here at New Horizons on a variety of topics, including leadership and technical ideas and social networking, some things I think will be very interesting to you. So welcome back if you've been with us on any of our other 6 podcasts so far. The idea is to explore leadership. And I want to go back in time with you today to explore an idea that's meant a great deal to me and to my clients along the way as their consultant. And it occurred when I first walked into the hallowed halls of Federal Express Corporation in its early days in 1979. I was hired to set up a career development center internally and to set up an internal university system for Federal Express and to be a management development specialist. What they already had in place there was a management simulation center that they had purchased from a vendor, and were doing it to screen people and to start to educate potential leaders and managers in that organization. So I'm going to kind of go on a rant here today, and you need to be prepared for this because I feel very strongly about this. Maybe a little too strongly, but you be the judge of that. What the name of slightly, I've changed it a little bit. What the name of the 2 days that you spent at Federal Express discovering your leadership potential was called So You Want to Be in Management. And here's the whole theory, or let's do the model first. I enter an organization. I am a technical person, an administrative person, a hands-on person in any industry, business, education, government, whatever it is. I go in an entry-level position. I start to move up either a formal or an informal career ladder, or whatever it's called, or career track. And eventually, if I'm good, almost inevitably, someone sits down with me and says, Skip, you've done so well in the last 2 years. You are such a great technical person, great editor, great welder, whatever it may be. We're going to promote you to supervision. And you're thinking, cool, that means more money. It probably means, I don't know, a lot less work, surely. A lot more control over my time. I get people to help me, maybe even get an office, don't have to be out in the field all day. Cool, and of course, I'd love to be a supervisor. That can be one of the biggest career killers that you or I can do, is to accept the job of supervisor if we are not truly willing, ready, and able. And what I want to talk about today is some of the pitfalls of So You Want to Be in Management. And I'm going to refer to some of the notes of I don't know what to call it. Let's call it a book, because I sold it as a book in Asia called So You Want to Be in Management at the request of a sponsor over there. And I want to refer to a few notes from that about what's in that book and some of the things that will help you and can possibly prepare you to make the decision to be a manager or not. Because my rant is that my experience over about 27 years in consulting now is that 30 to 50% of those who want to be in management should not be. Should not even consider it. They should say, no thank you, I'd rather be a super tech, a super welder, a super salesperson, a super delivery person, a super production person, whatever it is. No thank you on the supervision. Because invariably, what happens after a fairly short period of time, that person who's been promoted will show up in their boss's office very distraught. And the boss will say, how's it going? And if it's me, I'll say, I had no idea that it was going to be 98% people problems. Nobody told me that. Nobody trained me for that. I thought it was going to be administrative, strategic, tactical, thoughtful, planning, organizing. And you know what it is? It's John coming in every other day to tell me that someone ate his sandwich out of our company refrigerator. Or it's that Susie is spreading rumors about Johnny. Or it's that someone parked in a parking place outside where they like to park, and they parked in such a way that another car can't get parked next to them. And that's become my life as a supervisor or a manager. And you know, somebody ought to tell people that that's going to be a great deal of your life. And I'm saying to the 90 to 98% level, it's going to be dealing with people. Sometimes people acting badly. So here's a bit from the book itself. Managers, and we're going to call these people who are supervisors, middle managers, foremen, even up to the director level, we're going to call them managers. Managers achieve, direct, educate, accomplish, arrange, bring about, and succeed. Now, I got those words from Webster's dictionary. That's what Webster said managers do. It's also partly a description from a Microsoft Office 98 thesaurus. My question to you is, are you willing, able, prepared, motivated, and fired up to take on the responsibilities listed above? And I say, by the way, add to that list: schedule, organize, discipline, coach, measure performance, empower, hire, fire, inspire, speak in public, dress for success, attend meetings, work on an average of 55 hours a week, train, chart, report, listen, analyze, study, sell, coordinate, communicate, resolve conflicts, justify budget, influence, travel, and other duties as required. Are you getting my idea here that management is an extremely complex, time-consuming, and many times thankless process, and it's not for everybody? So that's the premise of So You Want to Be a Supervisor. What I'd like to do is to go through some of the other ideas about the high cost of this idea. And I'm calling this the high cost of low self-awareness. And I'll read from this. Have you ever witnessed up close and personal the promotion of the wrong person to the wrong position? That's a trick question, isn't it? Because we all have. Such as the great teacher who becomes then an inept administrator once they're promoted. The bright creative programmer who becomes the boss or team leader from hell. The super salesman who yearns for the autonomy and freedom now buried deeply under HR and financial paperwork, and the effective, efficient crew member that becomes an ill-tempered team leader. All of these are typical scenarios when the wrong people are promoted to the stressful world of management. Wrong does not mean bad, stupid, or incompetent. Wrong means ill-prepared for the roles and responsibilities of supervision. Wrong means to be grossly unaware of the realities, positive and negative, of the management life. I'm going to go off the box, out of the script right now, and tell you a story about what happened to me in my first 6 months of my first supervisory job. I was hired by a major university to be director of one of its off-campus centers in a small town. And I had a faculty of 13 part-time people. It was an adult education school. We met mostly in the evening. It did grant college credit, so I did a little teaching, but mostly I supervised the faculty. Now, over all of us, there was an area director who I can hardly describe his style, except to say it was as inappropriate, ineffective, and as mean-spirited as anything I've ever seen. When he didn't like you, he would start in on you in a campaign to either get rid of you or to get you to quit. Well, fortunately, he liked me because I went fishing and played golf. Just tell you what kind of system we were in. But there was one particular faculty member he did not like, to the point that he drove her not only to distraction. At 9:30 one night after classes were over, and by the way, I was 22 years old, my first real job, She was 67 years old, had taught at several colleges, and had retired in this community after her husband died. At 9:30 one night, she came to my office as I was wrapping up my class and wrapping up for the day, sat down and burst into tears. And she said, I can't stand it anymore. Not only can I not work here anymore, not that I could work somewhere else, I'm thinking about taking my own life. And I cannot tell you what that moment in my life said to me, is that if you're a supervisor or a manager or a team leader, you literally hold some people's lives in your hands. Well, you could say, well, gee whiz, if she was tougher than that, she'd just say, put it where the sun doesn't shine, I'll get another job or I'll retire or whatever it is. But she was sensitive enough that this had gotten to her to the point where she would want to do herself harm. That was my first experience in learning how to coach, counsel, call one's minister at 10 o'clock at night for help, not my minister, hers, and to figure out exactly how to keep a cohesive team motivated, and at this point in time, how to protect my team from this regional supervisor, which I eventually did, and that's another story. The point of that story is to be a little dramatic about the process of being promoted into supervision, because it's all about people. And I wanted you to know that. So the purpose of So You Want to Be in Management is to raise your awareness. And what I want to do is to first of all go very briefly over something called a readiness quiz or assessment. And I'll have to tell you that it's a rigged deal. The answers you're already going to know, because all the answers are going to be pretty apparent. But here we go. This is called the Management Readiness Test. And if you're someone who's a candidate for management, who thinks they may be in the future, who's been identified by their organization as a potential member of the management team, listen to these as cues for you as you evaluate your own decision to go into management. So here we go, and it's very simple and it's very quick. And I'll make it even quicker. Part one, number one, and it's on a scale of extremely important to of no importance in terms of how you rank or rate these. Number one, managers should have a highly developed awareness of their effectiveness as perceived by their direct reports, peers, and boss. Highly important, extremely important. One of the things that endangers our position as a supervisor or as a leader is never getting feedback. So they should have a high awareness of how others perceive them through a periodic feedback session, through asking people how am I doing, or through a formalized 360-degree evaluation process in their company or organization. Number two, managers should have a high degree of self-control, especially under pressure. My work in Asia has taught me this to the extreme. If a manager in an Asian environment loses their temper in front of their team or in public, they are then in shame. It is a shameful act for a manager in the Asian environment to lose their temper publicly. I don't think that's a bad idea otherwise. Now, I think it's a great idea if my manager loses his temper in public about something that he or she should have done that we could do better as a company, that the competition is killing us about, but it's directed back at them and what their leadership style can do to help with that. So anger, lack of self-control, again, career killers.